guys, and welcome to another episode of McDonald County 411. Today, I have a very special guest in the studio who needs little to no introduction, Pineville's own Mr. Gregg Sweeten.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Glad to be here.
Yes, I have been looking forward to this interview. I find stories fascinating, and the more there is to people, the more facets, the more interesting I think they are. So I was just reading, a few weeks ago and reading up about you, that you're in the middle of, or you're about to kind of wrap up your career in being the mayor of Pineville. So I thought this was a perfect time to kind of bring you in and just kind of let you talk about all the wonderful things that you've done for this community, your time, kind of a time of reflection on your time of being the mayor, and then any future exciting plans, even if it's fishing or retirement stuff. So what I want to do is kind of just take people back to your roots and just kind of work through your story. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up.
So I came from Pitcher, Oklahoma, which is a town that is no longer even there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The lead and zinc mining took its toll. And so really Pitcher is not, I mean, it's still a spot,
What's that?
but basically my hometown is not there any longer.
You hear about town, and it really happens to
It really
towns.
does.
That's
Yeah.
kind of scary.
Yeah, the federal government bought out all the land, and there's still a few holdouts that live there. And a lot of the Indian tribes still occupy the land there because a lot of land in Pitcher was Indian tribal land.
Of course, yeah.
And but it was a great place.
So
Won't say it was maybe as good as Pineville is, because I love Pineville. And but it was a great place to grow up. There's like 30 of us in our senior class.
Oh, wow, so real close-knit community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very.
So what did one do for fun back in the day in old Pitcher, Oklahoma growing up?
Drive Main Street.
All right.
Went to Miami a lot. Went to Baxter Springs, Kansas, because it was close. Just ran around on the weekend. Roller skating.
Okay.
Loved to roller skate. I spent
cool.
5 days a week at the roller skating.
skating.
It could have been some of that. Yeah, could have been some of that. Could have been even, I know I'm a pretty good sized guy, but there could have been some jump up, turn around on the roller skates.
I'm thinking could have a future side gig and some roller skating derby or something.
It's been a little while.
You make a good derby guy. Skates.
Well, I actually have scars right here on my hand from a watch from playing roller derby.
That's intense. On a side note, I knew somebody who played roller derby, and it's like football and roller skates.
It is. It is. Yes.
Well, at what point then, growing up? So talk me through your leaving of Pitcher, or you're moving on. Where was your next stop from Pitcher?
So when we left over there, we came to Goodman.
Okay.
And went to work full time for the sheriff over here. My boss, the sheriff of Ottawa County, Oklahoma, lost the election. Okay. And we've been working a lot with McDonald County Chief Deputy Don Slashman.
Oh, okay, nice.
On some drug cases, back and forth across the line. And so Don offered me a job. And so we came over here. We looked out east. He wanted someone to live in the eastern part of the county to have a presence.
Interesting. Okay, nice.
Because a lot of people lived right around Pineville. A lot of the deputies lived right around Pineville. And so just never could find anything. And so we ended up in Goodman and spent till 1995. That was January of 93 that we moved over.
Okay.
And then spent till 95 in Goodman when we bought a house in Pineville.
Oh, nice. Okay. So what drew you at Goodman's? I think Goodman is always kind of undersold. I think it's beautiful land and property out there. And I think more people are starting to gravitate towards Goodman, I see too. But after the move from Goodman to Pineville, I know, just because I know you never left Pineville after that.
No.
And so tell me a little bit about kind of obviously finding your home in Pineville and really finding what made you fall in love to be like, this is it, no more moves, this is where I'm growing up.
So
where I'm getting older.
I was on the fire department in Pineville, even though I lived in Goodman.
back in
back in '94, I think is when I joined the
wow,
fire
so you've
department.
been with the fire department a very long time
Yeah.
as well. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I guess, you know, being down here a lot with the sheriff's office, got me associated a lot with Pineville.
People.
Being on the fire department down here, I mean, I'd have to leave Goodman and drive to Pineville to go to a fire.
Yeah.
Which is not the best,
Yeah.
you know, situation.
Your life was in Pineville. It
Yeah.
sounds like your life was starting to evolve in Pineville, so you needed to move to Pineville.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And David Brashears, who worked for the marshal office here, him and his wife had a house, you know, and they made us a really good deal on it.
Oh, nice.
And so we've lived there ever since, and wouldn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah. So, at what stage after you got to Pineville did you consider maybe advancing into, you know, mayordom, or how do you say that? Like you were, at what point after moving to Pineville did you kind of start to think about putting the political hat on, so to speak?
So I started on the council. I thought, you know, that would be a good way to represent. I joined the council, just to help represent the people of the North Ward of Pineville, where I live.
Okay.
And was voted in as mayor pro tem.
Nice.
Which is, if the mayor's gone, then I would run the meeting and do what the mayor does.
Backup mayor.
Yeah, backup mayor. If you know, if something should happen to the mayor.
Right, of course. The vice president with the president.
Yeah, pretty much so. They kind of call it the president of the board, I guess you'd say. And so, you know, I served on the council, I think, for about a year, and the mayor resigned that we had at that time. And so that made me step up and
sounds like it was a natural progression.
Kind of threw me in, you know.
Opened.
Yeah. And you know, I had some great employees back then. We didn't have really a pot to be in. You know, Pineville hurt.
It was a lot different of it, huh?
It was a lot different back then. And you know, we had an old blue tractor is all we had. And you know, I'd go out and scrape the streets if it snowed with that tractor. And we had so many volunteers. Even back then, that would come and, you know, help dig up the road and, you know, put water lines in or do, you know, and that's Pineville. You know, the volunteering is still today. Yeah. Pineville. Yeah. And so, you know, I thought, you know, this is kind of cool. And so I ran for election against a former mayor candidate, former mayor of Pineville, and actually won.
All right, that's exciting. Now, tell me a little bit about your first campaign and what that was like.
You know, I really, it was a struggle because, you know, he had already been mayor here in Pineville.
Sure.
And, you know, I really worked it. I mean, I went and talked to people and really worked it, a door-to-door thing. Cool. Signs, you know, and things that you do.
Didn't have easy old internet to do work for you.
No, we had no cell phones, we had no internet.
You had the posters, and you had to do the door-to-door. You had to go to the fairs and shake the hands.
Yes, yeah. So the only thing good is Pineville's a smaller community, so, you know, I could get around about everybody's house. Yeah. And, you know, I was concerned. I didn't think I would win. And so I won, and Pineville has always kept 2-year terms instead of 4. Okay. Because we talked it over in the council about changing it, but if you got a bad mayor, you don't want him for 4 years. Right. You know, so we've never changed that. Yeah. And so I was mayor, so basically 3 years, the year I stepped up and took it, and then the 2 years as being elected. And I then got beat, you know, by another local lady here that and she ran a good race, and, you know, she beat me by a few votes, and, you know, you live with that. And it was a shock, and it, you know, it kind of hurt, you know, because I you know, back then I loved Pineville, you know, just as much as I do today. And, you know, it's one of those things that can always happen. You know, you should never take it for granted that you'll always be there. Absolutely. You know, during my last 12 years, I was lucky. I didn't have no one run against me. I didn't have to campaign,
Yeah.
and so,
The Pineville, from the, as far as what I can read, you've been a wonderful mayor to Pineville, and it has always just been, yeah, pretty much you, like, it just, that people liked you so much, it carried you through.
I had such good employees and good council members,
Yeah.
and I mean, even back in the late 90s, the
Mhm.
council members, were really just top notch,
Yeah.
and they cared for our city,
Yeah.
as they still do,
Yeah.
can you get a bad one? Sure you can, but we have just been so lucky and so blessed
Yeah.
not to have that.
I would agree with you that Pineville is a huge volunteer city, but I also would say that all of McDonald County, and I've said this on prior podcasts, it's like when it comes to taking care of your own, McDonald County has that down.
Yep.
Whether
Yep.
it's the kiddos, whether it's the streets during the winter that people need help in, whether it's the guys working overtime to get lights back on.
Yes.
McDonald County as a whole is workers. It has a bunch of worker bees, and we're all good at rolling up our sleeves and doing that.
Yep.
And I'll say that till the day I die, that McDonald County takes care of its own. And
Well, good, after the 2017 tornado,
yeah, the tornado that took out the whole elementary school.
the
Right?
whole elementary,
Okay, yes.
the part of the bank, part of the downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, this tornado went right through downtown.
Crazy.
And, we had so many volunteers that stepped up
Sure.
during
Yeah.
that. People would even go borrow equipment,
Yeah.
because Goodman's kind of like, Pineville, it didn't have a lot of equipment. And so the county came in, the commissioners let the county come in and help, and we had people volunteer day after day just to help clean Goodman up.
Yeah.
And I think that would happen at any
Oh,
community in this county.
For sure.
And there's some places that just aren't like that,
No.
so we are
A lot of
blessed.
places aren't like that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So we are blessed. Well, so we're kind of at the time where you had been mayor for 3 years. Now you're not mayor anymore. So what are you doing now?
So I'm full-time with the sheriff and, as a deputy sheriff. And, so that back then there was 7 of us to run this whole, in this whole county. We didn't have a lot of money in the county,
Yeah.
and we drove our own vehicles. We had to buy our own vehicles.
It's like almost gives me anxiety when you say that because I'm so used. It's like, well, who helps people? I mean, you guys, 7 people to run this whole
Yeah.
county that's very spread out
Yeah.
is not a lot.
And you put summer on top of that with all the chairs.
Population in place.
Yes. We would actually go on call at 1 a.m. on Saturday morning. We would be on call until 6 a.m. Monday morning. And there was 2 of us that worked a Saturday and a Sunday shift.
Mhm.
And if you worked the day shift, you tried not to call the night guy out,
Yeah, sure.
because then you would end up getting called out
Oh,
and
yeah.
working the night shift too.
Yeah.
But we never thought a second about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd be out 12 or 14 hours. And you just didn't think, we didn't worry about overtime, you just didn't think anything about it. It's what you done.
So I have to ask because I'm a true crime junkie, and you may be able to say, or you may not be able to say, and that's fine. Can you tell a story, or was there a time? What was the craziest time you ever experienced back in the day? And this time when there's just like 7 of you guys, was there anything
Well-
like ever really crazy that you guys had to face?
So there was a local trooper
Yes.
made an arrest,
Mhm.
and really had no idea who he had at the time, and brought the gentleman to jail. And after that was he was opening some peaches to put on his ice cream in front of his kitchen window with a wooded area to the east of his house.
Mhm.
And I was actually at the sheriff's office, my wife and I, and I was answering the phones. The dispatcher had went out to take a break, and so I was answering the phone, and so I answered the phone at my desk and said, "There's been a can of peaches blow up on Bob." I'm like, that of course, we dispatched the ambulance and everything, at that point.
She was just saying what she
Yeah,
witnessed.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, but that can't happen.
Right. As a cop, red flag.
Well, even at that point, no.
Really?
And I was the only one on,
Yeah.
and my wife was with me. And we had a backup guy that had to set around his telephone because we had no cell phones back then. So that person had to set it home.
Imagine that, people staying by your phone.
No, no cell phones. And he had to physically sit there to answer the phone in case I needed help.
Sure.
And so I called him, after dispatch goes back in and they're calling the ambulance and the fire department. And so I called him and just to let him know, I'm headed on this. I don't know what's going on, but, I might be tied up for a while. Mm-hmm. Because if there's another call that comes in, and if it's not an important call, I'm going to stay there.
Right.
If it's an important call, then I have to call him out. So I wanted him to kind of be aware.
Right.
So I went and he said, I'll come out that way.
Okay.
Because it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But had no clue.
No clue.
Had no clue.
Just thought there's probably an innocent explanation for this.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you were. Okay.
Had no idea. I mean, literally, when she said can of peaches, blowing up, I'm like, I guess that could happen. They're under pressure. They're
sure. No, I mean, but sure, you're joking, but seriously too, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I was pretty young. I think it was in 1996, and I'm like, okay, so we respond out there, red lights and siren. And I get there, and sure enough, he's laying on the floor, and there's peaches everywhere, and this can has a hole in it. Yeah, yeah. And so we had the fire department on the way out there, already, and I just happened to glance up and realize there was a hole about the size of my pinky coming through the windowsill. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, these peaches didn't blow up on their own. And I'm like, we need to call for help. And so it's literally like God set down the Missouri Highway Patrol. Back then they wore the brown leather belts if they had rank, which they don't do any longer. But there was more brown belts than I had ever seen in my life, and helicopters and just regular troopers. And I mean, it was unreal. And of course, all of our department, all 7 of us, counting the sheriff.
Well, when it's one of your own.
Exactly.
You take care.
Exactly.
You always take care. You take extra care.
Yeah. And so we immediately started looking, around, and there was a guy who had done a shooting incident at the courthouse years before I even came over here that lived just down the road. And, we went and paid him a visit, and we wanted to see if he had any idea or if he had done anything, and so, we started working our way out, and you work your way out from the crime scene. The next morning, we started scouring the area east of where, the house was. And wanted to see if we could find any evidence. And actually, one of our deputies located the shell case.
Wow.
I mean, for him to find, this was thick woods.
Like divine intervention. Right?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Because that was the whole thing to the case.
Yeah. That's literally your smoking bullet.
It was. Or smoking gun. Yeah, it was. And so we set up at the National Guard Armory. And we had that bullet casing and seeing where the shot came from. And we set up at the armory and, just like you see on TV, I mean, whiteboards, back then, not the computers, of course, but whiteboards and
still they do that.
And paper hanging up, and did, we was there, 12, 14, 18 hours a day working this case. It was. And, having that bullet casing, we got a call from a sheriff in Arkansas. And he said, the weirdest thing, I had a guy down here who was target practicing at T-post with an SKS rifle, which some of those rounds bounced off and hit a horse. And he said, I actually have recovered some shell casings and some of the bullets out of the horse, out of the animal. he's like, wouldn't it be wild if that matched?
Yeah.
And, shooting at a T-post, he was trying to hone in.
Perfecting
the shot.
Hitting a peach can, you have to be a good shot.
And going through the window seal, through the window seal, and glass. Yeah. If you hit glass can deflect. Yeah. It can deflect that shot, that bullet. And, actually hitting the wood was probably one of the smartest things he could have done versus hitting the glass. High velocity rifle. Okay. And the bullet casing, the shell casing matched an SKS. Okay. But we had no clue, until the sheriff called. And of course, the highway patrol immediately jumps on that with their laboratory, matching. And the gentleman who was doing this shooting in Arkansas was kind of an anti-government, which kind of fit in with the gentleman who was arrested by this individual. And so the highway patrol, one of our deputies had went out to this property to look around and was actually confronted with who we later proved was the shooter. But at that particular time, nobody knew he was the shooter. And so they actually made contact with him at the gate. And, and he was armed. And of course they were armed, but nothing happened. But, it was determined because, it's not like on TV, DNA and lab results. And that doesn't happen overnight or, within an hour show or, it takes some time. Yeah. It was a year to the day. Wow. That we got results. Yeah. And so, they confronted this guy, and that was literally the last time that anybody knows this guy was seen that done the shooting. He's still to this day? He's still to this day on the run or on the loose or whatever. Oh, I just got chills. You need to write a book. This is fascinating, especially the fact that it's not solved or wrapped up. Makes it sad. Every so often. Sad for the family. It does. So first and foremost, it's tragic to not have an end, but to come so close with this individual a few times and then. Yeah, they were 10 foot from him at one point and had no clue that that's who it was. To be 10 foot from him, not having a clue. Is this on any kind of like wanted list? He's on the FBI's most wanted, and they've done several stories on him across the country. Wow. Well, Thank you for sharing that story. I mean, the trooper that got shot was an amazing person. He had an amazing family, did not deserve that whatsoever. He was kind of a fixture in McDonald County, when he was a trooper. And he never treated people wrong. He was always a good, genuine, caring person, And it was a sad deal. Thank you for sharing that. You have some really fascinating stories, and I bet you have probably 10 more just like that under your belt. So maybe you should think about doing a podcast or a book or something like that. Well, let's kind of shift back now to the second time that you ran and were voted into mayor. This started out this last 12-year stint. Yep. So kind of tell me about that race and then the time when you made it into the office that time. So there's a couple of people running. Okay. And I was on the council. I got back on the council again. I had a lot of people come up and ask me to file. Yeah. And I'm like, well, this is flattering. Yeah, it is. It is. And, I thought, I didn't file filing time, and filing had already closed. And so I called our city clerk and I talked to her, and I called our county clerk and I talked to her and I said, is it too late? And she's like, you can file as a write-in until, the second Friday before the election. And I'm like, well, Joe at Southwest City was the only other mayor that I know of, or the only other person that I know of that ever filed and won as a write-in. That's right. I talked it over with my wife, and I'm like, I guess that I need to do this. So I filed as a write-in, and I had 2 weeks to go talk to people and get some signs made. Yeah. And so I spent practically every night talking to people
Yeah.
just to let them know that I was running, and the fact that you have to write that name in exactly right. There's a blank and there's a circle, and you have to fill in that
They
circle
have
and
to really know
write
you,
that
yeah.
name. And so I didn't think, I really didn't think, between all of that, that I would probably win. And I was sitting in the courthouse that night with, I think the mayor who was running in Anderson. And I actually won.
So that tells you right there how the people felt about you. That you.
And that's probably the only reason, one of the only reasons I done it.
Yeah. It sounds like your heart is really with service and just what you can do to be the best citizen you can. Kind of wrapping up now on your 12 years. What are you going to do now? I know you're still director of emergency
management.
Okay. And you guys are doing wonderful things, by the way.
So, storms don't happen just during the day.
Right.
And a lot of people probably don't know. It's me. I have volunteers that help me from time to time, but it's me, my wife, and my daughter that go to the office at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I've got another person that helps, whenever he can, and he's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I have him that helps, but, for them to jump up out of bed, and go down there just to notify people, it means a lot,
Yes.
And we want you to be we want you to be notified.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm so thankful for the commissioners that we have that have signed off onto this system.
Yeah.
And we've not only used it during storms. We actually caught a wanted criminal.
Yes.
Out here north of Pineville. He came here on with a stolen vehicle. Went in several different houses and campers and just wouldn't leave, and we got the word out, and we got a call that morning that, he may be in the area again. And so I'd sent an alert out, and thank goodness, I think this lady was 80 some years old, and she had got the notification, and he showed up at her house. Well, she didn't let him in because she knew. But she's like, let me get you a bottle of water, and you can sit here on the front porch. And so when she went back in, he wanted to come in, and she said, no, my daughter's sick. I can't let you in, but hang tight here. So she goes in and calls 911. And we got out there and got him captured. We don't consider it a job. We consider it a service.
Yes, it is. It's a big service.
And the CERT training, the Community Emergency Response Team training, I've trained, I don't know, probably close to 200 people here in the county. We had a team at every school for a little while. But there's so much good in that hopefully you never have to use.
I want to talk a little bit about your family. You work together, and what moreover I notice is it seems like you guys genuinely enjoy being together as a family.
Yeah.
So this is your moment to kind of brag a little bit about your family and just how much they've been involved with you and what you do.
Yeah. So Stephanie is, if I'm not, doing something, she is for somebody.
Yes.
She cares.
She does a lot for the community. She's highly involved in the ball programs, all kinds of things. She really helps with.
Kaylee, my youngest daughter, is the volunteer side of it, she she was helping me do fire stuff before she was even 18.
So she kind of always had it, the bug.
She has. And she, she's been a firefighter now for, 7, 8 years, 9 years. And, you don't get a lot of girls that want to go out, playing fire and stuff like that and drive big old trucks, but she does. And she helps with everything. She helps us, all around town to do stuff and is always watching for stuff.
Yeah.
She'll like, Dad, there's people climbing on the culverts, what if they fall?
Yeah.
Or hey, there's some guy walking, right here, and I don't think he should be,
She just has that.
She does.
internal antenna.
She does,
Yeah.
and she'll see something on the square here because she works down at the assessor's office. She'll see something on the square. She's like, it's just not right, And so she's the volunteer side of it. Brittany, my oldest,
And I apologize.
she's down in Oklahoma with her fiance, and she runs her own business.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she's done fantastic. She the business mind and the business sense of things, and she, hopefully, either later this year or first part of next year, will be getting married.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Starting a new chapter.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
hopefully soon, later there'll be grandchildren.
Yeah. Yeah. She has we have grand dogs now. We went down a weekend, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, and watched the grand dogs.
Are you
Because
just like you and Stephanie are gonna make great grandparents? Like you're already just fun. Before I sign off, I like to always throw in as much about McDonald County or name drop as many people as we can. So can you kind of shout out a couple of your favorite businesses in McDonald County?
Hurley's Old Bay.
Yes, I see so.
Love that place.
Yeah, and they're growing.
Yeah. They've been so supportive to our city with our events.
That's awesome.
And so we try to go out there and support them, and we share their stuff. We'll call them for an event and say, do you want to be a sponsor? And they're like, well, how many, pork butts do you want us to smoke, or do you want us to buy the buns, or they are just fantastic.
That's awesome. So that's a really good one. So. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been fascinating talking to you. And for you guys, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next week on another episode of McDonald County 411.